content warning, possible invalidation of body dysmorphia from an actual fat person. So this is like a genuine question. How do I get non-fat people who have body dysmorphia talking about how disgusting they think they look because in their brain they look like me? How do I get them off my For You page? Because I can't deal with this. Like, these videos are so upsetting for me to watch, and I don't know what words I should block. I just need to understand. Like, I need guidance and I need validation.
What is it with people who have eating disorders and are thin that refuse to believe they are fatphobic because of their eating disorder? I've been in treatment for months and these bitches are like, no, I can't be fatphobic, it's my eating disorder's fault. Your eating disorder is fatphobic. No one said it was your fault, but it's still fatphobic. You have to understand that eating disorders with the intention to control weight are rooted in fatphobia. And without that, you can never fully recover from your eating disorder or have a healthy relationship with food. And if you are not treated like a fat person in society, calling yourself fat in a derogatory way is harmful to actual fat people. I truly am gonna have to put body dysmorphia in my comment filters, because I swear to God, people only bring up body dysmorphia when it comes to fat phobia. Friendly reminder, fat people have body dysmorphia all the time. Fat people have eating disorders all the time. To me, it literally sounds like when women talk about oppression that they face, and men go, but what about circumcision? But what about how men have higher suicide rates? Like, you're only bringing it up in defense of being fatphobic, instead of actually advocating for the rights of people with mental illnesses. You're just angrily in fat people's business when we point out the societal oppression and stigma that we face. It's just not relevant to the discussion at all, because viewing yourself as fat and being perceived as fat by society are very different things. It's just not relevant to the discussion.
What is it like to only have incorrect opinions? Nobody is saying that body dysmorphia and fat phobia are the same thing. What we're saying is that the content that people are putting out about their body dysmorphia is fatphobic. The content. Not the disorder, the content. The content. Okay? Please relax and listen to a fat person for once in your
A radical movement that was started by fat and disabled people to spread awareness about their issues and fight for legal protection has now devolved into a movement to make skinny people feel better about themselves while simultaneously shitting on the same people that started this. A lot of you guys really need to think long and hard about why you think looking fat is wrong.
I've noticed about the way people with privileged bodies relate to body positivity is that they see how a person feels about their body and a person having negative feelings about their body as being equally bad to how someone's body is treated in society. I think a good neutral example of this is like large boobs versus small boobs. People with smaller boobs often say they feel like it's not as good as having big boobs. But the reality in our society is that people with small boobs have privileges that people with large boobs don't. It's much harder to find things that fit, and you have to pay a lot more money for things. And all clothing is made for women with smaller breasts in mind because it's made for thin women. Women with larger breasts are also usually labeled as like overly sexual as well.
Every time I hear someone recommend a diet of 1,200 calories, I'm reminded of the Minnesota starvation experiment.
In 1945, the University of Minnesota did a study on the long-term effects of starvation. Participants were given a diet of 1,500 calories for 24 weeks. It's important to note that these people were chosen because they were happy and healthy before this study. During the study, they became depressed, socially isolated, obsessed with food, and one subject even cut off 3 of his fingers. And that's just the psychological effects. It also had a huge list of physical problems that it caused too, to things like metabolism and heart rate. Those issues did not go away when the study ended. They had lasting mental and physical effects from this study. Next time someone recommends you eat 1,200 calories, just know that it is not near enough, and it is not for your best interest.
Babes, you know diets don't work. You know they don't, because you yourself just said every time I diet, I gain more back. But you may not understand why that's the case. So let's talk about the efficacy of diets right quick, because they don't work and they're bullshit. Sorry. First things first, we have known that diets don't work forever. I mean, forever, okay? In 2007, UCLA published a landmark study that showed at least 1/3 to 2/3 of people who lose weight via diets will gain back more weight than they lost within the first 4 to 5 years. That number skyrockets after 5 years. This research has been reconfirmed multiple times in the past 15 years. In fact, a researcher named Kevin D. Hall in 2016 published research specifically on The Biggest Loser, Winners and Contestants. You guys remember that piece of shit show. And what he found was that almost all of them weighed close to, more than, or at their starting weight from the show. Now, why is that? Because diets don't work. They're not efficacious. Efficacy is just a fancy way of saying, does this thing produce the intended or desired outcome? They don't work. I always liken this to an asthma treatment. Asthma is a really good thing most people understand. If I went to the FDA with my new asthma treatment and said, okay, it works 10% of the time, but in 5 years, everyone's asthma will be worse. Why would the FDA approve that? Why would they be like, okay, but that's how diets work. They work just like that. They don't work, and then they make you gain all the weight back. Now, why is that? There's a couple prevailing theories. There's a lot of theories, but one is that if you restrict food, your body's basal metabolic rate, which is just what your body needs in order to survive and thrive, it readjusts itself because it feels like, oh shit, we're going to get less food, so let me adjust myself to survive. Your body's number one goal in life is to survive. And Kevin D. Hall found this in his research with The Biggest Losers, that their BMRs were super duper low even years after getting off the show. So even just being awake, being alive, they weren't burning as many calories as another person the same size as them. Also, there's the thing about survival mode and all that, but there's a lot of different research on that. So instead of thinking about how to lose weight, as a chronic lifelong dieter, I shifted my mindset to how do I repair my relationship with food so this is not on my mind for the rest of my life. And that included me leaning into intuitive eating, realizing I had an eating disorder. I am recovering from BD. And also realizing that not everybody's meant to be thin. Bodies are different. All bodies are different, you guys. So everybody's meant to be and look different. Everybody's valid, and think about your health holistically instead of just a number on the scale.
Okay, I had to take a couple days to take a break from answering these because y'all are a lot. But the reason people see so many positive changes sometimes when they lose weight, sometimes, not every time, but sometimes, is because of changes in diet and lifestyle generally. Let's use back pain as an example. The reason people see improvements in back pain when they lose weight isn't because of the actual weight loss. It's because of changes in diet, usually, or changes in the kind of lifestyle they're living. It's the reason that a lot of people's health actually can improve when they gain weight. It's all about your lifestyle and how you're living and if you're living a healthy life. To this because this is a perfect example of how deep-rooted fat phobia is actually really dangerous for fat people in our society because it affects medical practitioners and affects the information that they tell and how they treat fat people. Back pain actually has no correlation whatsoever with the amount of weight you're carrying. There's very, very little information on studies around what causes back pain, and it could be a million different things. We just don't have very much information on it fat phobia, whenever a fat person has a medical problem, it's automatically linked to their weight. Lots of thin people have back problems too, but they don't get it blamed on their weight. If you don't believe me, Google it. I don't feel like putting up a bunch of information for y'all right now, but like Google is free, so.